What defines a cult? According to linguistic origin, the word cult can be traced to 17th century France to mean an ancient or primitive form of worship. Historically, the word often refers to a social group defined by religious, spiritual, or philosophical beliefs, but the more modern use of the word has taken a more pejorative form, often describing a fanatical movement with a common interest in a particular personality, object, or goal. In particular, America's deep-seated fascination with cults is widely known, with pop culture heavily infused with the sadistic exploits of cult leaders. Reverend Jim Jones of the People's Temple, Charles Manson of the infamous Manson family, David Koresh of the Branch Davidians, and Gavin McGinnis of the Guild of Bigoted Shirtlifters all shared one key ingredient: a charismatic ability to attract hordes of impressionable yokels and have them do your every bidding, often to unfortunate ends. The common components to a cult are fairly universal. A central figure is usually supported by a sycophantic power structure of debased bootlickers. This, above a marginalised mass of low IQ bumpkins with those most devoted afforded greatest access and privilege. An often controversial doctrine is subscribed to at all costs, for fear of excommunication and public shaming. Additionally, cults often display an us versus them mentality, exploiting a manufactured sense of victimhood to further galvanise support within the congregation, and helping wean out enemy agents. All this to feed the escalating god complex of a narcissistic demagogue.
And I think that's one reason why we have such a successful cult, is because your cult leader doesn't want to fuck you.
The goal of this documentary is to analyse the disturbing behaviours exhibited in one of these cult-like assemblages. In exposing the actions of a certain wide-eyed half-wit, I hope to encourage many in his flock to at least question the direction of his dogmatic message. Additionally, I hope to enlighten those in his congregation of the many missteps, misunderstandings and misdemeanours laying at the foot of their beloved supreme leader. This is a harrowing story plagued with a degree of wild conspiracies, confusing betrayals and hysteric lunacies I have yet to experience in all my years of doing this. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Owen Benjamin.
And I do appreciate that. And if I ever do need that, and I give you guys the nod, kill everybody.
Born to professorial power couple John Carez Smith and Jean Troy Smith, both of the State University of New York, Owen Benjamin Smith's path to the entertainment industry came courtesy of his opera-singing father. Having encouraged Owen to invest his adolescent years tinkling away at his little piano, the academic crooner saw his son's penchant for performance art grow from strength to strength. And despite an increasingly gangly figure and awkward stage presence, the soon-to-be parody artist would quickly be amongst the glitz and glamour of Adam Sandler cameos and Steven Crowder sketches. Owen's first foray into his short-lived career on the remote fringes of the entertainment industry saw the lofty eccentric try his hand at a student-run TV station at the State University of New York. And it wasn't long before Owen's experience in student broadcasting began to pay off. After combining his new skill set with his piano playing background, a flood of hokey musical spoofs would provide Owen with a readily marketable gimmick.
I wasn't jealous at all, totally cool when she didn't answer my calls.
Owen would join the waves of YouTube parody artists, drowning the internet with yet more contrived tuneful content. With cutting-edge subject matter including the dynamic of romantic relationships and the bond between man and dog, Owen was well placed to scoop up scores of amused boomers and easily impressed soccer moms.
Only serial killers have wind chimes, and remember to look up from your phone sometimes.
Having adopted his new stage name of Owen Benjamin, dropping the formulaic patronymic Smith, Owen took to stand-up comedy as his main vehicle in performing his unique catalogue of puerile jingles. This included the following revolutionary take on the repetitive nature of pop music.
I wanna give you my heart.
Go back 10 years to a different album, ready?
Come up to meet you, tell you.
That said, not all of Owen's content relied upon the keystrokes of a musical toy, and although performing material indistinguishable from that of your average Midwestern opener, it was at least refreshing to see Owen unburdened by an instrumental crutch.
You know, turn the tables on them a little bit. Sit down, buckle your seatbelt, look them in the eye. It helps if you're sweating a little bit. Just go, hey man, yeah, this flight's gonna get wicked intense.
but it was Owen's assortment of derivative sketches that would afford him the handful of Hollywood scraps most career middles could only dream of. And at an increasingly puritanical time for entertainment, where comedic risk-taking was largely stifled, skits such as Owen Benjamin's relationship advice would unfortunately fill the void.
I'm here right now and you're just supposed to be supporting me and not yelling at me. Can you please carry me? Thank you. God, I shouldn't even have to ask. You're just be offering this to me as someone who loves me.
Owen would further put his limited acting ability to the test, portraying a straight man in a fictional town filled with rampant homosexuals in a series of online shorts. Gaytown was the first of 2 web series to feature the towering oaf.
It's been brought to my attention that you could be one of those weirdo straight guys.
What does my sexuality have to do with anything? I'm just working.
How am I supposed to trust a man who doesn't want to have sex with me?
And in Heckle You, Owen Benjamin further padded his pitiful resume with more amateur dramatics, playing directionless slacker and basketball heckler Chance.
Come on, game face, let me see it.
To Owen's credit, his dogged hacking away at the steel wall of show business eventually paid off, with baffling back-to-back shots at the big screen, first featuring in 2008's visual tumour, The House Bunny.
I have a secret ingredient. All right, you twisted my arm. It's chili powder. Yeah, it just explodes your taste buds so the drink just envelops your mouth.
Oh, I love having my mouth enveloped.
In a classic tale of peaking too soon, Owen starred alongside Christina Ricci of Addams Family fame in 2009's medieval washout, All's Fair in Love. As expected, the film bombed, earning just $17,000 during the opening weekend's limited release.
This midsummer,
You wanna kiss me now?
Nah, cool.
if they want respect,
Put him down immediately.
And to round off a triumvirate of forgettable showings in motion pictures, Owen was gifted one final swing at the entertainment industry. The lumbering knuckle-dragger could be seen in dialogue with Adam Sandler during the 2011 ratings flop, Jack and Jill.
Come on already, it's happy time!
Dude, way to yell at a chick. That's awesome.
Owen's personal life would also defy expectations, as the corpse-lipped jester would find himself with a real-life movie star girlfriend. His former co-star Christina Ricci took an irrational shine to Owen in what could only be justified by severe macrophilia.
You're the girlfriend.
Yes,
And-
but she's a lot more than that.
Right.
Owen's animalistic simplicity had Christina's bulbous forehead bulging with the prospect of wedding bells, and after 6 months of really weird tabloid photographs, the ill-fitting pair were engaged to be married. However, such is the fragility of showbiz coupling that the pair was statistically doomed from the relationship's inception. Owen's belligerently combative nature, pulled with a tendency to dramatically overreact, resulted in a succession of arguments that eroded whatever remnants of romantic interest remained. According to People magazine sources, Owen had a birthday party this past Sunday and everything seemed fine. Sometime after, they got into a fight and decided to re-evaluate things. Then, the engagement was off. The breakup triggered a small bump in Owen's meagre celebrity profile, and following a number of inconsequential small-screen cameos, he was granted a spot in the main cast of the TBS sitcom Sullivan and Son, appearing in all 33 episodes. The project was the latest in a long line of career misses and would represent one of Owen's final attempts to make a splash in the industry before turning his back on show business indefinitely.
Who you really mad at?
I'm mad at Ahmed for putting a spider in my peanuts.
Exactly, so get him back.
But how? He's a powerful and successful tow truck driver.
Meanwhile, having seen his creative output stagnate during his botched attempt to break Hollywood, Owen turned his attention back to independent content, and having seen the explosion of anti-SJW material on YouTube in the run-up to the 2016 election, the aspiring e-celeb looked to the video upload service as his main creative platform.
Confirmed sexual predator Louis C.K. finished masturbating in front of a stranger, and then confirmed to Daily News that Trump is, in fact, Adolf Hitler.
This coincided with a somewhat convenient rediscovery of his religion, and given the likeliness that those on the left were mostly godless heathens, Owen's disrespect to any non-religious person became something of a running theme. And at a time where the so-called skeptic community were mostly seen as fedora sporting spurgs, Owen's rampaging bitterness towards non-believers was perhaps a little over the top.
Without God, humans aren't special. So we're just wolves? We're just instinctive psychos that should just bash each other with rocks and steal each other's shit? There is no I You're a goddamn jackal in the night if you don't believe in God. You're a coyote. There is no anything.
With cutting-edge compatriots such as Stephen Crowder and Gavin McInnes, Owen's myopic campaign against all things leftist continued to propagate. And despite being raised by liberal academics in the overwhelming blue state of New York, the comedian would nonetheless adopt a slightly ill-fitting traditional conservative persona.
I hate the left. I don't hate liberals. I disagree with liberals. But I hate the left. Healthcare, I want free market. My dad wants socialized healthcare.
In a series of instructional parody videos titled Leftist Fitness, the bungling dolt hit on almost all of your typical Crowderisms. This trilogy of cringe further outlined Owen's shameless grasping at post-Gamergate traction.
You raped me! Now your life's over. I never met you, but that's okay. You can do that to me.
The change of tune to a more conservative approach had also infested his stand-up comedy, with his back catalogue of normie tier content now replaced with a prosaic medley of CRTV talking points.
They're like, Donald Trump is literally Hitler, now it's time to give all your guns to Hitler.
As the battle against the neo-Marxists reigned, the number of YouTube martyrs to come to the fore in opposition to the left continued to rise. Dr. Jordan Peterson, a Canadian clinical psychologist and professor of psychology at the University of Toronto, was perhaps the most well-known of these, having famously stood up against Canada's compelled speech laws regarding gender pronouns. Owen was enthralled by the doctor's cause, and became a chief advocate of Peterson's message of bedroom cleanliness.
But he is just a wonderful man, just absolutely ethical, kind, hardworking, religious.
Such was Owen's adoration for Peterson that he went as far as dedicating a song to the carnivorous scholar.
Happy birthday, Jordan Peterson.
In Happy Birthday Jordan Peterson, Owen spent 2 excruciating minutes gushing over the Kekistani therapist to the tune of Carry On Wayward Son.
Carry on, Doc Peterson. There is truth in what you've done.
To Owen's delight, Jordan agreed to appear in a long-form interview. And whilst some issues of depth were discussed, the interview will be best remembered for Owen trying desperately to court Dr. Peterson's approval. It wouldn't take long for topics to be cut short by yet another of Owen Benjamin's self-oriented tangents.
I tweeted a picture of all the late night hosts. I will make big mistakes. I have a podcast called Why Didn't They Laugh? Where it's, I stood up against censorship in comedy, and I stood up for this child. And recently I got banned from a few comedy clubs over a joke. And so the joke I did to mock the progressives, I was like, yeah, I want to be a progressive slave owner. Did you see my sketch with Crowder with that?
I haven't seen it.
It's pretty funny. Anyway, go on.
Right.
Yeah.
Well.
The interview exposed a slightly unnerving side to Owen, and it began to feel that such a desperate appeal for validation may stem from a more fundamental issue eating away at the comedian. This was later confirmed during a stream in which self-professed alpha male Owen Benjamin admitted to harbouring some deep-seated daddy issues.
Someone yesterday, a few people commented that it seemed like I had daddy issues because of my obsession with Jordan Peterson. And to be honest, that isn't that far from the truth.
It is likely Owen saw Jordan as a sort of beacon of paternal strength missing from a desolate childhood of neglect.
My dad would say, have you thought about what you said? You will get backlash. And I'm like, you fucking coward.
And despite biblical doctrine calling to honour thy father, a newly devout Owen did not hold back in denigrating his procreator.
Because I'm not going to play public defense attorney for a guy that used to drive me around when I was 9 telling me he was going to kill himself and that if I wasn't born he would be more successful.
In an emotional tirade, an unforgiving Owen would describe the weak and pathetic nature of suicidal thoughts when discussing his father's tragic psychological flaws.
A guy who has a picture of him and Hillary Clinton on his desk and not of his family because he met Hillary Clinton one time. That's so pathetic, so leftist, so weak.
The extent of Owen's adolescent mistreatment was far from limited to his father, with a visit to the emergency room prompting a maternal nervous breakdown. Following a severe injury to the eye of a 9-year-old Owen, his mother decided it best to abandon her son completely, leaving the family with little warning or promise of return. It was later revealed that her desertion was the principal impetus for his father's suicidal thoughts.
So because of that incident, my mom had a bit of a nervous breakdown. She moved out. She straight up had a complete meltdown. So she shuts off, becomes very cold, and realizes she has to move out. And so my mom drives off one day potentially for good. She didn't say she was ever coming back. And my mom was gone for 4 or 5 months, but I didn't know if she was ever coming back. So at that point is when my father became suicidal.
It goes without saying that all this is objectively tragic, and the purpose of discussing his difficult childhood is not to ridicule or demean. During the course of this documentary, Owen will exhibit a range of disturbing behaviours, and the only intention here is to trace these irrational or paranoid tendencies to their root cause.
You have like some kind of daddy issues or something, because you're always looking for camaraderie and approval from these men that you perceive to be greater intellects than you.
Owen's quest to replace his Harry Carey daddy also saw him gravitate towards pint-sized bow hunter Joe Rogan. Owen's childlike reverence for the Vern Troyer stand-in was further enriched after an invitation to appear as a guest on the Joe Rogan Experience.
Ladies and gentlemen, Owen Benjamin, how are you, brother?
Good, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming here, man. I appreciate it.
During the appearance, Owen once again regurgitated the same pedestrian alt-like frustrations as heard on the Daily Wire. An impressionable Rogan would then spend the next 2.5 hours gleefully lapping up each of Owen's lukewarm takes.
And that's all he's saying is equality of outcome versus opportunity is really the debate. And I'm very against equality of outcome because the legal precedent of that is insane.
Opportunity and outcome.
Equality of outcome, it's impossible, but equality of opportunity isn't this way.
Equality of outcome rather than equality of opportunity.
Equal opportunity or equal outcomes.
Owen's red-pilled cage was once again rattled after discovering NPR host Jesse Thorne and his cunt wife were raising their child gender neutral. It's undetermined whether the comedian's outrage came from a legitimate source of anger or was simply parroted from what is now known as the intellectual dark web. Either way, Owen was on a warpath.
5-year-old boy. He's called, just the mental confusion alone is mind-blowing. To say that your name is what a girl's name and you're really a girl in a boy's body, a 5-year-old. Now add on to that hormone blockers and the intolerance of any criticism and you have a disaster.
Following torrents of outrage from progressive degenerates, Owen took to Facebook to better voice his indignation. In a chilling post, he warned of service veterans with PTSD who miss killing and hate pedos, before telling a story of an Afghani rapist having his head blown off by a close friend of his. Owen was obviously justified in his opposition to the normalisation of gender-fluid children, but the naivety of inciting mindless violence on social media only served to create further difficulties for the colossal boob.
The transgender kids thing it's the linchpin of the whole deal. They can't move to the next stage until they've destroyed our ability of protecting our own kids.
Owen's manic energy towards trans issues began to infest his increasingly problematic stand-up routine. However, many cynics would claim that Owen was simply capitalising on anti-progressive doctrine by adopting the trans children cause so passionately.
What's going on with you? They're like, no, I'm gonna shove on my cock and now gender doesn't even exist. Nothing matters. A 4-year-old can be a T. Everyone's like, dude, can we kick out the T? They're like, no, he's already brought the Q's, the A's, and the I's.
And after a barrage of provocative anti-trans sentiments were retweeted by the Trans Hollywood Twitter account, the media radicals began to circle in. Owen would be targeted by the unforgiving world of online journalism, with pieces attempting to undermine his ability to earn an income. The inevitable backlash hurt Owen bad, as gigs were routinely cancelled in retaliation for his perceived polluted outlook on delusional mutated deviants. Owen's response was to play dumb, blissfully unaware of the unfortunate ramifications of social media ranting. It is somewhat admirable that Owen took a stand on what was objectively a deeply disturbing reality of 2016. But to complain about the money lost from college campus gigs as a result of staunch anti-LGBT views is by all accounts an exercise in boneheaded naivety.
Hormones. Anabolic steroids, hormone blockers. Your endocrine system is a very, very balanced clock. And as soon as somebody wants to go in there and mess with it, I want to leave the kids alone, man.
With Owen now in the centre of a potentially damaging media firestorm, many high-profile personalities offered the comedian some welcome support. After all, Jesse Thorne's case included the controversial notion that young trans children and even trans toddlers be given hormone blockers to ease their transition. Joe Rogan once again invited the comedian to further discuss his situation live on the Joe Rogan Experience, much to Owen's delight. This was one of many public showings of support from Joe Rogan, offering a much needed signal boost to Owen at a truly difficult time for the comedian.
They're talking about like making this kid a eunuch?
Well, yeah, they won't go through puberty. And so then it's
What
like...
are they saying, though? What are they saying they were going to do?
It's called hormone blockers. I make these problematic statements, and then my agent drops me. And
how did your agent drop you for saying a 3-year-old shouldn't be given chemicals that kill his dick and balls?
Because I was rocking the boat, man.
This is not wise, because if you just look at it in not in terms of like how a child should identify, but in terms of like the biological process of a developing human being, it's very, very touch and go.
This was a time of overbearing censorship and online deplatforming, with Twitter suspensions almost a rite of passage for conservative defenders of speech. This Silicon Valley tyranny was seen as an indication that your argument was deliberately stifled, and probably worth hearing. Baked Alaska, Anthony Cumia, Jared Taylor, David Duke, James Allsup, Tommy Robinson, and Milo Yiannopoulos all enjoyed a sustained period of escalating appeal as a result of persistent suppression from the left. In an absolutely blatant attempt to join the ranks of those subjugated vigilantes, Owen went full bore in his efforts to be exiled from Twitter. In an explosion of unshackled rhetoric, the comedian would hold no prisoners in his quest to offend as many people on the way out as humanly possible. In the following tweet, Owen appeared to reclaim the word nigger after asserting blacks are more likely to commit sexual acts of violence than more civilized species. He repeated this feat many times, including this tweet where he uses the label to denigrate those he sees as communists. He then expresses his desire for the return of slavery, just so he could own nefarious blackfacer Sean King, before another tweet voicing the same slave owner fantasy, this time directly tweeting at the ghetto cosplayer. Next up were the Asians. After referencing their squinty eyes, he further demeans the group, saying how he likes to rub their little heads. In his third appearance in 4 months on the Joe Rogan Experience, Owen was confronted by Joe for his erratic obsession with social media, in what was known as the intervention of Owen Benjamin. Joe expressed frankly his concerns for the frenzied performer, for his observable addiction to Twitter, in a blunt conversation that only reinforced the growing father-son dynamic between the two.
I wanted to talk to you about social media.
Okay.
Because I love you.
I love you too.
I think you're a very good guy. I really do. But you are the worst representative of yourself on social media. You are, without a doubt, addicted. And I know you bailed on your phone for a while and you went to a flip phone.
Yeah.
But I see these manic tweets from you, and I just want to go hang out with you and go, dude, what are you doing? Like, why are you constantly tweeting and attacking people? And I see these blurting outbreak posts. They're just like, blah, like you got mental diarrhea. I mean, just let me see if I can throw the word nigger in here for a goof. Let me see if I can, say something that's going to piss people off.
Joe's main stumbling block seemed to be Owen's treatment of Joe's celebrity friend and fellow comedian, Anthony Jeselnik. After discovering Jeselnik had blocked him, Owen tweeted the comedian accusing him of getting liposuction. This prompted a reply from Jeselnik, calling him a third-rate piano comic who has increasingly frequent and public alt-right meltdowns.
I heard he had called me alt-right, which we all know at this day and age means Nazi. So when I go on his Twitter page to see what he's saying, I'm blocked. That's a very aggressive move to do to someone preemptively when they haven't said anything to you.
Seeing his two friends at odds with one another, Joe attempted to reason with Owen and perhaps enlighten him as to his destructive tendencies on social media. This advice was largely ignored.
There's this weird thing you're doing, like this Jeselnik thing. Like you just decided to attack Anthony Jeselnik.
No, I'll tell you this.
Did he attack you?
No, what happened was someone said that they had heard he said I was alt-right, which is like the new insult.
People can believe that. They could believe that you were alt-right.
The first signs of genuine trouble came after Owen sent an offensive tweet to Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in response to the controversial passing of Bill C-16, an amendment to the Canadian Human Rights Act that legally compels the use of gender pronouns. In an objectively funny response, Owen's deliberated argument was that his pronoun is Justin Trudeau is a fag, before challenging the closeted statesman to say my pronoun, you fucking pussy. As expected, this resulted in a temporary suspension for Owen Benjamin, as he reflected on landing himself in Twitter jail.
Yeah, so I'm suspended from Twitter for a week, which means I'll probably be banned soon. Because it means there's a group that are coming at me.
After returning to the platform, Owen was quick to once again kick up a giant fuss, with Parkland survivor and teen activist David Hogg next in his crosshairs. Having found this adolescent yearning for attention unsettling following the brutal mass murder of his classmates, Owen was justifiably triggered by the conceited little faggot. It was argued that David Hogg had used the tragic event to significantly bolster his own profile and drastically improve his future prospects. After all, he had become the left's poster child in advocating gun control, and in exchange was granted a place at Harvard University despite only scoring 1270 in his SATs. And after the political twink had successfully championed the boycotting of numerous right-leaning personalities such as Fox News pundit Laura Ingraham, Owen was categorically livid. He challenged Hogg to attempt to boycott the comedian himself, knowing he had no advertisers or financial supporters to put the squeeze to. All well and good, but it was the sexually suggestive direction his tweets were meandering towards that would provoke the permanent suspension of Owen Benjamin's Twitter account. His series of tweets seemed fixated on the 17-year-old's genitalia, endlessly concerned with whether or not the underage Hogg had grown pubic hair. And although attempting a wider argument about how children should not be dictating policy regardless of personal victimhood, these tweets just came across as an act of repugnant histrionics.
David Hogg. Say with me, everybody. David fucking Hogg has no fucking pubes.
Owen had done it. His Twitter account was no more. He would do the rounds in enthusiastically informing the alt-right of his recent expurgation.
I was banned for life for making fun of David Hogg, and that's when I realized there was something seriously going on with that kid. I was pretty relentless, and then when they realized how they could get me, which is so ironic to the leftist disposition in Hollywood, because I said anybody that isn't old enough to grow pubes can't tell me not to have a gun. They said I was sexualizing a minor. He was about to be 18, and that's not sexualizing a minor.
And rather conveniently, The Purge had given Owen a fresh angle for his progressively repetitive stand-up routine. After discussing the ban, the frenetic simpleton stood in rapturous joy after earning an enthusiastic applause break from the crowd.
It's so cool to see how many people came out tonight, seeing as I'm banned from Twitter, so I don't know how you could even find me. Yeah.
Ultimately, Owen would soon realise the phrase reaping what you sow also applied to him, as Joe Rogan's prophetic warnings began to play out. For the second time, Owen's over-enthusiastic lack of foresight resulted in real-life difficulties for his pregnant wife and child. In a Facebook post severely lacking in self-awareness, Owen complained how his own actions had impacted his life, stating, "This is disgusting. I have a 2-year-old and a pregnant wife, and they just set my life back to zero with one big swoop. I just worked tirelessly for the last 5 months building my online ability to make a living, and it's all gone." As Owen's fan base grew, so too did their devotion to the scruffy pianist. His late night streams helped cultivate an almost fanatic community of YouTube commenters, and the sense of overwhelming fraternal affection within the faction prompted Owen to assign a name to the group. After consultation with his core cluster of sycophantic elders, he would settle on naming his congregation the Unbearables, in reference to the unbearable acts of progressives towards young children. Owen's followers would be colloquially known as the Bears, with willing participants going through a process of bearification, in which a new bear-infused name is christened to the member by Owen, otherwise known as Big Bear, himself.
Because a lot of the Unbearables came to me early on when I stood up against transgender 5-year-olds, right? One of the reasons we called ourselves the Unbearables at the time was it was unbearable what people were saying about children and doing to children, and how no one was standing up for innocent people or the vulnerable of society.
Before long, a main cast of key bears surfaced, and the fundamental elements of a hierarchical structure began to pan out. Those most valuable to Owen were afforded greatest access to the comedian during his nightly streams. A sense of competitive approval seeking resulted in many bears going above and beyond to provide whatever assistance they could, whether that be creative content or behind the scenes administrative support.
Climbing trees, living free, oh won't you come and be a bear with me?
Owen would even include bears within his payroll, with Israeli superfan Dolev the first to be taken under his employ, and having been verified with the name Falafel Bear, the clerical Zionist was officially appointed as Owen's social media manager.
I just started following him on Twitter and on YouTube, and I started getting into his comedy. And then we just got to talking, and I asked him if he needs any help, and I started helping him, and that was it, really. So
eventually, a whole host of bears would form an ensemble of zealous sycophants. Cornelius, Kyle, Brian, Beardew, Bob Hall, Chew Bearker, Jules, Nickel, Bunny Bear, Patriot Bear, and Racist Bear are just some of the regulars to have found a place in Owen's movement. The unifying goal of the Unbearables was primarily to fight the crippling progressive dogma infesting our families and institutions, and promote traditional Christian values through the vehicle of Owen's comedy.
Then women realize that they should have had kids, and they have this emptiness that follows them everywhere they go, and that no matter what they do, it doesn't fill it.
Of the more creative members, Kiwi Bear and Artling displayed a level of talent in their work capable of grabbing at Owen's otherwise short attention span. Both would earn a reverence amongst the sleuth of approving bears. In particular, the works of Artling were genuinely impressive, and his undying commitment to Owen's cause was evident throughout his portfolio of artistic works.
I know you guys usually come to my channel to watch my art videos. Decided to partake in the Portland World Naked Bike Ride. Yeah.
To add yet another string to his bow, Artling helped put together an exclusively independent comedy special for Owen, and despite the material left wanting, the artist has to be commended in helping to produce Big Bear's forgettable new hour.
Because I've performed in Portland a bunch of times. I've done Helium, I've done some stuff here, and then the SJWs got wind of me and started getting sad, and I was like, what's the one place where they would never go? I'm like, military truck and a place where men work.
And in bewhiskered cuckold Coddington Bear, Owen had found his right-hand faggot. The spineless minion worked tirelessly to arrive at his master's side, providing an almost Smithers-like service in answering his every whim.
I'll give you the power. Go ahead and ban David Knowles, perma-ban them from the channel.
With creative and artistic support amongst the best ways for Unbearables to make a splash, Coddington Bear gleefully abided. The Tubby Poindexter re-recorded Owen's Hallelujah parody song, aptly titled How They Rule Ya. And to answer your question, yes, it's cringe.
How they rule ya, how they rule ya.
And the shameless grovelling did not end there. Having noticed like-minded bears being praised for freely generating material, Coddington Bear wanted a piece of the action. His idea was to create a universal hub for bears to converge and share their work and ideas. In an excruciatingly awkward teaser video, Coddington outlines the daring idea of single-handedly assembling what is essentially a Discord server. With rooms such as the Bearseum, the Compound, the Cub Hub, the Raw Room, the Barely Literate Book Club, the Echo Chain Bear, and the University of Unbearables, it's a wonder why this bear cave idea didn't quite take off.
And then one of my personal favorites is the University of Unbearables, which is basically a way to connect bears with bears, teaching each other various skills. The idea being that we are a tight-knit community of bears, and we're teaching each other skills, whatever it is.
Still, his significant efforts were dutifully rewarded, and following a number of high-profile banishments within the Unbearable community after some really crazy shit I'll talk about shortly, Coddington Bear became Owen's go-to guy. So much so that Owen entrusted the shooting and directing of yet another superfluous comedy special to the power-hungry neckbeard.
You know, they really think that Trump causes hurricanes. That's crazy. We all know that it's the Jews.
To round off Owen's merry band of gay misfits, token racial buffer Eric Nimmer would join the comedian on tour as his official opener. With a pedestrian set bursting with overly animated urban energy, the glorified open micer struck gold in his partnership with the N-word heavy Owen. And by dancing to the right-wing tune of this group of mostly white conservatives, Nimmer's ambition of being a serious touring comic would be partly fulfilled, at the minor expense of his pride and dignity.
Child support is scarier than the police, is what I'm telling you, alright? I'm kidding, it's a joke.
For the most part, the Unbearables were at first relatively fond of Eric Nimmer, especially given his service record as a former US Marine. and he was subsequently welcomed within the sheltered clique of senior bears. But following what was considered a roast battle with a bear known as Neri, the tide began to change. Eric Nimmer presented himself as an arrogant and cocky know-it-all, and his over-reliance on people's inability to get pussy as an insult crutch, coupled with his braggadocious overconfidence and hyperbolic grasp on the truth, many in the den had simply had enough.
Fucking emotional Eric. Like, fucking, I don't even know who you are, and you were mad you didn't get a shout out. Bro, like, I didn't even fucking know you yet. Because you are emotional Eric. You're so bitch made that I fucking got your goat and made you get on here. So what do you got, bro? Did you print that over at Kinko's? What the fuck did you do, Nimmer? Fucking nothing. That's why no one's saying shit, because they feel bad for you right now, Nimmer. You're dying on stage. You're fucking dying on stage. Come on, Nimmer. I don't want to hurt your soul. You're a good fucking dude. You're a good fucking dude. I don't want to hurt you. Now I feel bad. I feel like I'm beating on a wounded dog right now. I'm sorry, Nimmer. I feel bad. I feel like I'm beating on a wounded dog.
It was widely considered that Neri had dominated Nimmer in his own field, embarrassing the self-claimed veteran in front of a panel of fellow bears on Google Hangouts. Eventually, a breakaway sect of bears would invest significant time and effort probing into the many wild claims of Eric Nimmer, starting with his service record.
I joined the military not because I really cared about the country, but just because I want white people to have to thank me for their freedom.
Nimmer would often boast of his time as a US Marine, claiming to have scores of kills across multiple tours on duty.
Yeah. I've sent so many people to go meet all their virgins. It's like, so many.
Time and time again, he would refer to his experience as a US Marine, repeatedly boasting of his time with the Corps.
Like not a Lena Dunham side. What's your background in military exactly?
Marine Corps.
Marine Corps.
Yeah.
So still a Marine.
Yeah, you know, that's how we do it.
Now, what did you do personally? What was your role?
Oh, I did intel recon stuff, but
so there you go. So that's why.
That's why you have to get people out. Yeah, like that's.
You notice the way he does the like. Yeah, Marine. Hey, Marine Corps. Am I right? Hey, I gotta look off to the side here. Keep fucking fixing your tie and looking off stage, shit dick. He sounds like he's unsure. Like, yeah, Marine Corps. I was Marine guy.
He would even display dog tags and dress in official Marine clothing to help support the narrative.
I'm a coward. Cool, bro. I mean, my shit been documented. I got medals for my shit. You'll be another fucking ribbon.
However, for former Unbearable Chuck Boris, otherwise known on YouTube as Locomotive Breath, merely suspecting Eric Nimmer was a lying piece of shit was not enough.
So I looked at several websites that investigate claims of stolen valor. What I did is I noticed that the Fake Warrior Project is also affiliated with they're run by the same people, by the POW network as well. That's who I ended up contacting. I noticed that they had the same person was running it. I ended up getting her email address, and I just emailed her directly and asked her, how do I go about investigating a case of stolen valor? She and I were talking, and then almost like I think about a day later, we got the preliminary back, which is not the definitive records. So basically, they said that nothing is definitive though until we get the actual FIOA request. So that's what we waited for.
He would submit 2 Freedom of Information requests to both departments of the US Army and the US Navy. The first FOIA request to return was from the United States Marine Corps headquarters, who replied with the following. This responds to your August 7th, 2018 FOIA request for records about Eric Douglas Nimmer. We initiated a search of the files maintained by the Manpower Management Records and Performance Branch, but could not locate a DD Form 214, Certificate of Release or Discharge from Active Duty, for Mr. Nimmer. However, MMRP personnel were able to verify that Mr. Nimmer entered the United States Marine Corps on August 2nd, 2010, and was disenrolled on July 8th, 2011.
A lot of people are going, Big Bear, I thought you had to do 4 years. 4-year contracts in the military, Big Bear. How did Eric Nimmer get out in less than a year? Was he just that good, Big Bear?
It appears Eric Nimmer did enroll in the US Marine Corps, but had disenrolled less than a year later.
Yeah, he has 9 confirmed kills in Afghanistan, 4 tours of duty, 27 years old. Great guy.
Of the numerous possible reasons for a Marine's disenrollment, many seem to refer to the individual's poor academic, physical or professional performance or standards. In accordance to the Certificate of Understanding Reasons for Disenrollment, this action is one made prior entrance on active duty, and can be triggered by such things as failure to maintain a cumulative average of C or higher, or failure to maintain the prescribed physical, academic, moral, or professional standards.
And he's a fucking Marine.
And so we like scrapping. Black people are violent. Yes.
Well, no, but he's the trained guy.
Gang. The Marines.
Yeah. He's the trained version.
I'm the reason why you don't want this race war to pop up. I'm
Yeah.
at least 7 of you up.
On November 29th, 2018, a response from the Freedom of Information Office at the US Army Human Resources Command confirmed that records pertaining to Mr. Eric D. Nimmer Jr. are not located within the Army Military Human Resources record, and that an additional search was also conducted at the National Personnel Record Center in St. Louis, Missouri, with negative results. This again seemed to wildly contradict with Nimmer's proud representation as a member of the US Armed Services.
And his life experience, 4 tours in the Marines.
It was determined that a basic pay entry for Eric D. Nimmer was actually found, dated 26th of June 2013, with a current rank of specialist.
Now, again, maybe he's in the National Guard. Maybe he's the most heroic member of the National Guard to ever live. He could be the fucking Rambo of the National Guard. I don't know. But he reps this Marine shit. USMC. Ooh, rah. Wrinkled up shitty Marine flag balled up on your bed. Ooh, rah. Semper Fi.
It soon came to light that Eric Nimmer had in fact disenrolled from the US Marine Corps for what could be assumed as academic or physical limitations. The basic pay entries in 2013 were actually from when Nimmer spent time with the National Guard under the purview of the US Army. Furthermore, Eric Nimmer's LinkedIn profile seemed to show the Uncle Tom Thumb as serving in the United States Marine Corps from 2009 to 2013. Not only does this wildly contradict with the aforementioned FOIA request, but his alleged time at university too. Having been questioned by former Bears as to these inconsistencies, Nimmer responded by deleting his LinkedIn profile and purging every video mentioning his service record. To this day, Eric Nimmer still claims he served and killed in active duty as a US Marine.
My buddy Eric Nimmer, great comedian, he was telling me about getting fired on in Afghanistan. I don't know what shithole he was serving in, but
I would much rather go back to Kandahar than spend a year in college fiction. No. 100%.
If you've been deployed, I can't say anything to you that yes sir. You've
been deployed friggin' 4 ass times.
Thank you for that joke, sir.
Hey, how many
how
many challenge coins you got?
I would be honored to give you one of mine.
Oh, I got a bunch. Actually,
I would be honored. I would be honored to give you one of mine because I'd be honored.
There exists a veritable chasm of insanity once you burrow your way down the Eric Nimmer rabbit hole. For example, his continuously lewd and harassing tone towards women would regularly undermine actual unbearable relationships, with Nimmer often speaking of getting into your girl and stretching before I stretch her. This disgusting level of disrespect towards bears, in a community designed in part to bring men together, was conveniently ignored by Owen Benjamin.
I tell you guys, I was recon. Good friends of mine are SEALs, and I give them shit because I always call them the sea lions and say they're pussies. Because, the Marine Force reconnaissance is better. It is.
And during an episode of Nightwave where Nimmer's records are finally revealed in full, the naval swindler responded by immediately setting his Twitter and Instagram accounts to private.
Hey Nimmer, I know you're watching, you little panicky Pete. It's over for you. Do you understand me? And this isn't from me, pal. This is from the Bears, whose fucking girlfriends you bragged about how you were gonna stretch them out. This is for Canonymous. I know it took a year. I know it took a while. I know, oh fuck, I thought that blew over. No, it didn't blow over. This is just the beginning, pal. You fake fucking stolen valor cocksucker.
Oh, and there's also suggestions Eric Nimmer had sexual relations with an unconvincing transgender, but to each their own. The Unbearables would form a protective shell around the delicate stooge, acting as Owen's fortification from external negative forces. Any mutiny from the chat was met with timeouts, deletions and bans by a cackle of authoritarian moderators. And although this could describe most live streams, a ban from bearified elders could be triggered from as little as mildly criticising Big Bear or offering sincere suggestions or concerns in what Owen would call concern trolling.
I just want people to understand what concern trolling is. You frame it like that you're concerned about someone versus being like, hey, what you say makes me upset or something. Instead you say, hey, you know, I'm really worried about you.
The content of Owen's streams continued to devolve into legitimate madness. He began picking fights with just about anybody for almost no reason. In Joe Ural, a wheelchair-bound Cherokee with cerebral palsy, Owen had found who he believed to be a sacred cow, not above the threshold of ridicule.
Can we agree to a compromise here? Give it up for compromise. Here's what we do. We start calling 9/11 the vertical trail tears.
Joe had stumbled upon one of Owen's Facebook posts posing the question about a cancelled gig due to low ticket sales. Owen responded, immediately attacking Joe's disability, calling his wheelchair a sweet prop. After a reply from Joe referring to Owen's career stagnation before calling him a third-rate piano comic, Owen replied with a bevy of crass puns on physical disabilities. These included, "Your jokes have no legs," and "Your career is on the skids, I'm really serious." Real top-rate comedy. After attempts by Owen to justify his savage attack on the lowly cripple, following a stream in which his followers were sent into a veritable frenzy, Joe posted his final reply, claiming, "I deleted everything because I got multiple threats last Monday night, over one joke, but free speech, right?" The difficulty is, Owen is actually right, in that in the world of joke telling, everything is fair game. But there was a severe lack of class and dignity from the pugnacious comic, in berating a man who has clearly faced a lifetime of extraordinary challenges. And to use Joe as a vehicle in proving your sacred cow argument with a series of terrible puns, only serves to expose Owen's lack of creativity and tact. After all, Big Bear was simply triggered by somebody questioning his low ticket sales, and ferociously lashed out, with a graceless throng of passé gags any typical 6-year-old could write.
As a comedian or as an artist, you feel what should be mocked and what shouldn't be mocked.
In another moment of gross inelegance, the progressively self-destructive Owen spent 13 minutes attacking celebrity chef and fellow documentarian Anthony Bourdain, only moments after his hilarious suicide in Strasbourg, France.
Heartbreaking and devastating. World-renowned chef, best-selling author, award-winning host of Parts Unknown, and our friend, Anthony Bourdain has died.
In the agitated rant, Owen labelled the deceased a fucking coward, before once again whinging and complaining about his suicidal father.
Fuck you people and fuck Anthony Bourdain. And I like Anthony Bourdain. I liked his show. I rooted for the guy. But when you'd rather strangle your neck to death when you have a child that looks at you like, Dad, you're a fucking coward. When I was a kid, my dad used to threaten to kill himself a lot. Like, he'd say that he was gonna go for a walk and he never wanted to come back because he wanted to die. And he would say that he would wanted to go into the water and drown. Like, looking back, it's so fucking pathetic. My childhood was fucked because of that one quality of my father. And it was. And it's in me. I found myself that welling up in me once in a fight with Amy years ago. That I was gonna say, I'm gonna fucking kill myself. I don't need this. There's no reason for me to live. That's cowardice, control shit. And I learned it by watching Daddy. Don't ever act like these people aren't the fucking bitch cowards that they are.
What's noticeable about this and other videos is the number of times Owen touches his nose, perhaps an indication of recent drug use. This would help explain the vivacious nature of his PTSD-stricken tirade, and would not be the first time the hopped-up comedian has experimented with narcotics.
I'd be up for like 4 days just snorting Ritalin.
People are like, why are you snorting Ritalin, right? Is that your question? You're like, why are you snorting Ritalin? Because I couldn't afford coke.
This frenetic spiralling saw Owen's self-destructive nature reach new lows, after publicly burning bridges with almost everybody who had once helped the comedian. Following Jordan Peterson's retarded take on the Justice Kavanaugh situation, many on the right had cemented their heel turn on the high-pitched charlatan.
I ask you to judge me by the standard that you would want applied to your father, your husband, your brother, or your son.
To Owen, Dr. Peterson was integral in both shaping his message of perpetuating traditional values and spearheading a positive message for productive masculinity. He was frankly a true personal hero of Owen Benjamin's, and as somebody who had failed to elicit love from his own parents, Dr. Peterson was undoubtedly a cherished father figure for him. Owen's inevitable heel turn on the snake oil clinician began after discovering Jordan Peterson was represented by his former agents, CAA.
This is the agency that he signed with after he was an author and had a huge touring base. Let's see about CAA. Let's see their mission statement. I was repped here for 12 years, by the way. 12 years. I know so much about this company. I was in their training video with The Rock and Cindy Crawford playing the part of one of the biggest agents there in front of all their agents. Like, I was known by all of them. I was in this. There's a reason I talk about CAA. It's not sour grapes. I haven't been with them since they dropped me because of the trans kid thing, and that was a year, and I didn't go at them like I could have. And fuck all you guys who keep wanting needling me about Jordan Peterson, because I got even more. I'm the CIA of human beings.
And like that, it was over. Jordan's comments on the Democratic Party's lynching of Brett Kavanaugh was the final straw for the impetuous bird brain. And despite Jordan walking back his comments the following day, Owen was done.
He wants to maintain his audience and try to confuse people by being like, it depends on what you mean by justice. Fuck that, dude. I listened to the guy, and what he's doing right now is what he said to watch for.
Admittedly, the Jewish League of Pseudo-Intellectual Faggots, also known as the Intellectual Dark Web, have noticeably permeated Dr. Peterson's rhetoric. But this was a man who had provided Owen with a huge spectrum of valuable insight that has absolutely formed the basis of unbearable doctrine. And it was seen by many of his followers that Owen had massively overreacted, especially given their previous dynamic, believing this scorched earth mentality was seriously bad for his message and career.
I have always sought after strong male role models and sometimes confused it with idols. And yet Peterson is fucking insane. He's clearly a homosexual. I mean, come on. Alleged. I'm just alleging that. I have no proof to that, but the dude's as gay as the day is long. I'd say there's a 25% chance that Jordan Peterson is a closet homosexual. Peterson is, man, he is a dangerous guy.
As for the decaying of Owen's relationship with Joe Rogan, this tracks back to his third guest appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience. Owen felt that for the majority of the show he was being largely ignored, in favour of fellow guest and pro-rape activist Kurt Metzger.
Joe did not know that Kurt was either allergic to caffeine or he just discovered crack that morning. Because it was just mania. There's no way you can predict that. And Kurt's a funny guy. That was one of the few situations where he really came across as a bully. Usually he's very compassionate and he has an open ear and he lets people... You know, if he interrupts, it's because he's so excited. Like, he couldn't have predicted that Kurt fell in love with crack cocaine that morning.
But it was Whitney Cummings, the latest in a long line of insipid feministas polluting the comedy pool, who would drive the final wedge between Owen and Joe. The aging Trout joined comedian Theo Von in one of the most banal exchanges to ever be captured on livestream. The conversation had both Theo and Whitney criticising Owen Benjamin's strong rhetoric, during a smug interchange discussing the lack of right-wing comedy.
And then there's also, he kind of went off over the deep end, but Owen Benjamin.
Yeah, Owen's too far out there. Owen's out doing, Owen's just looking. Owen's kind of like,
well, I think
he seems like Roseanne's son a little bit, but out in the woods.
No, but isn't he like a men's rights activist or a white power activist or something? I'm probably spreading rumors, but
no, it's gotten a little bit bizarre.
He's also like trashing comics. Like, get out of here.
Yeah, it's just gotten, I think some of it's gotten a little bit, some desperation that happens when you aren't here.
But Whitney Cummings was far from done untwisting her discharged panties. she would once again throw shade to Owen Benjamin on the abomination known as the Bertcast. Yet another of these sit-down style circle jerks, this time featuring shirtless irritant Bert Kreischer.
I don't know Owen Benjamin, like what he's doing right now.
Wait, he just had a video about you.
I know, and I haven't seen it, and I have...
Wait, you haven't watched it?
No.
Yeah, like, look, I love Owen. I'll always love Owen.
I don't really know what's going on. I made a joke, not a joke even, on Theo's podcast, and I was just like, isn't he a white supremacist now? Because that's what people keep telling me.
Yeah, no, he's just... Look, sometimes you go on tilt. I like, what is it, go off the reservation. Fucking the wheels come off.
Owen saw Theo Von and Bert Kreischer simply as an extension of the West Coast Rogan universe. The opinions of Joe's friends were likely shared by Joe himself, at least in the paranoid spaghetti mind of Owen Benjamin. The mere notion of the so-called Death Squad network teasing Big Bear behind his back was an imagined betrayal too far.
I'm no longer loyal to Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is not loyal to people. That dude is not a loyal guy, man. And I finally realized how much of a coward that guy is, and he'll never be my hero again. I'm better at stand-up than you, Joe Rogan. It's obvious. I'm a better joke writer. I have better delivery. I'm better at the piano. I'm not constantly yelling. I don't look like a thumb.
During Owen's bitter snapback, he stumbled on several legitimate issues shared by many JRE fans. The growing success of Rogan's podcast had coincided with a general level of increased scrutiny for the fun-sized animal killer. It is generally believed that Joe's somewhat opinionated disposition had softened as of late, with his famous attack on the same Alex Jonesian ideology he once subscribed to, an example of this.
Look, I think he's a great guy as a person. I'm not attacking him. I just, when he goes crazy, he gets mad at me. I want to hug him.
Ultimately, so-called friends of Owen Benjamin are rarely more than an insult away from total disavowal, and whether or not he's eventually right in not associating with somebody is simply missing the larger point. Owen's immediacy in tarnishing deep and personal connections due to perceived personal slights or minor intellectual disagreements simply demonstrates a fragile and often rash ego at work.
Like, most high-level LA people view him as a monkey, literally. That dude is not seen as very sophisticated in the Hollywood community. They view him as a retard. A retarded person.
Such was the impulsive suddenness of Owen's attack that Rogan had to call the vaudevillian crackpot personally to work out their issues. This was a far cry from Owen's preferred method of conflict resolution, where one is to resolve slight disagreements through a series of paranoid sermons to thousands of YouTube commenters. Bizarrely, Joe's phone call had somehow succeeded in encouraging an entire reversal of Owen's position on the cue-balled podcaster.
So, I'm about to say something that isn't the easiest to say. I am humbly apologizing for what I said about Joe Rogan. When we realize we misstepped, you gotta apologize and make it right. I gotta apologize and make it right. We had a really good talk, and I was doing the thing that women do. He's a solid dude, and he didn't have to call. Me apologizing right now will get me nothing. In fact, it will only get me thousands of comments of people calling me a pussy.
Unfortunately for the relationship, this new enlightened outlook of Owen's did not last very long.
Joe Rogan is not a leader. And I used to follow him. How can you follow Joe Rogan? He's 5'6". What leader? If I was standing in front of Joe Rogan, I would think he disappeared. Man, if only I could hang out with Joe Rogan. It's not that fun. You do way too many drugs. Duncan Trussell is the weirdest dude on the planet. Bert Kreischer is always drinking 30 beers and trying to suck your dick. And I know Joe Rogan could beat the fuck out of me. I know he could buy and sell everything I own. I know that he sells out stadiums and I don't. He speaks lies and he's short.
Owen was at this point unconditionally manic. His nightly streams had taken a number of disturbing twists, turns, and narcissistic loop-de-loops. His sudden interest in exploring conspiracy theories saw him take a series of objectively indefensible positions on what is now considered settled science. After all, having had his IQ allegedly tested as a young child by his wildly overbearing mother, suggesting a staggeringly high score of 147, Owen Benjamin could well be considered a genius. And Given this is the testimony of a self-declared eco-feminist who wrote of finding a path for oppressed women to personal wholeness and self-healing, whilst expressing their creativity for the health of a world dominated by men, it's impossible to imagine Owen accepting such an authority had it not favoured him.
Neither of you had a desire to learn. Of course, I'm reading, I was reading to you all the
No,
time.
you read to me every night, like high level.
You read to me every night, high level. Oh, okay. You know what I'm starting to think? Owen's mom might be the crazy one. Why not? Why isn't she crazy? Maybe she raised these two sons and she's one of those ladies who are like, my sons are geniuses. My sons are the brightest boys ever.
They wished you weren't there because you didn't fit the mold. And you were supposed to fit the gifted and talented mold, but you were beyond the gifted and talented mold.
His stupid mom goes, oh, he was even more gifted than the gifted kids. And then these guys who are fans of him are like, see, Porcelain? You don't know what you're talking about.
They punished me for that.
Yes. As they punished you for playing the piano so well.
Sounds like a typical school. Yeah, we gave your son detention. Why? He was playing the piano too well. Okay? It was just too good.
All right, what's my IQ?
147.
Yeah, confirmed.
Not know your IQ. Look at that. Confirmed. Oh, yeah? Arrest her! Look how happy he is. He's pretending he's not that happy. He's trying to really keep cool here. But he's so excited that his mom is saying this to people.
Thank you,
and it
Mother.
worked. Because look at that guy. That guy, remember, this all came because that guy tweeted Porcelain. He's like, here's proof that he's a genius. So this did work. Owen got his wish.
With an imagined IQ just 13 points from that of Albert fucking Einstein, Owen's approach to scientific consensus was to challenge everything, regardless of evidential validity. It was a case of Owen knows best, and his constant reaffirmation of his supposedly high intelligence seemed like little more than an exercise in pretentious overcompensation.
My IQ is higher than, probably every professor at Oxford.
Such were his viewers' doubts that Owen had even taken the test, let alone managing a score only achieved by severely high-functioning autists, that some even challenged the cerebral imposter to take the examination live, promising $1,000 as an incentive. After toying with the idea, Owen rather conveniently concluded it would be unfair for somebody to spend money on what he considers an irrefutable claim.
This one guy wrote to me, you don't really have an IQ. This is why I brought up the IQ thing. You don't really have an IQ of 147. I'll PayPal you $1,000 right now to take a test. And normally when someone says I want to see you take a test, there's no chance. That's demeaning. That's a waste of my time. I don't feel any need to do that. I don't have to prove anything. But $1,000 is $1,000. And then I started thinking, I shouldn't take this guy's $1,000 because this is a horrible financial decision. But then I also can't stand the guy clearly because he's being a total piece of shit. So I'm like, no, I'm going to take his $1,000. He never would do it anyway. There's no way he'd write back.
Owen has never explained the circumstances under which his IQ was tested, nor has he repeated the test at any point over the last few decades. And given observable factors in gauging intelligence such as use of vocabulary, level of academic achievement, framing of arguments, and general understanding of advanced and complicated concepts, it is likely his IQ score is nowhere near the 147 he claims.
So not only am I not an idiot, I'm in an elite class of intelligence.
Even if it was true that Owen's IQ was at least significantly above average, simply considering yourself smart does not grant you immediate authority on a subject with decades of scientific contribution by generations of academic experts specifically targeting the field.
That's why sometimes I'll say I'm really smart. I'm going to stop doing that though. I think it has a weird... People have a weird reaction to that. I literally thought that would be almost like being like, oh, I can speak Japanese. It's cool. It's almost like, no, I'm smart. You just don't see things. But no, people get so pissed at that.
As it stands, his appeal to this imagined intellectual authority is simply invalid until we know more about exactly how and when this score was reached.
But my IQ is higher than... I guarantee it's higher than Neil deGrasse Tyson, Bill Nye, It's really high.
Especially if Owen was intent on challenging such things as the theory of evolution by natural selection.
Okay, my issue with evolution is still one species to another. Let's say you have a little tiny bit of something on your back that helps stabilize your swimming, because even though you're a land animal, you've decided to start swimming a lot to get like fish because there isn't enough food on land. It falls apart, guys.
You see, Owen's a fucking idiot. His brainless grasp on the concept of macroevolution simply exposed his lack of understanding on the subject of evolution altogether. In an act of boneheaded ignorance, the tinkling jester lays out a flawed interpretation of macroevolution. You see, the word is a somewhat inconsequential placeholder for what is essentially a large-scale continuation of microevolution. The gradual accumulation of evolutionary changes at the species level eventually arrive at points of speciation. Phyletic gradualism, a process of steady transformation splitting at points of speciation, and punctuated equilibrium, a process driven only by rare and geologically rapid events of branching, are two competing ideas in which evolution can occur, and is both observable and measurable in nature. Instead, stupid Owen uses the term macro to simply mean large-scale changes from one species directly to another. As French biologist and retard fucker Jean-Francois Goriepi confirms, during his unravelling of Owen's theological nonsense, this simply doesn't happen, won't happen, and has never happened in the history of the known universe.
I'm going to steelman evolution.
Evolution needs no steelman, but the physical universe and the reality of mathematics.
And just science in general I always loved because there was an answer. And it turns out there isn't. Science requires as much faith as religion.
It doesn't. Science relies on either direct calculation based on mathematical axioms and consideration or observation of the universe.
In the beginning, there's primordial soup. And a lot of people have made the distinction that's not evolution, that's something else, that's something Genesis or whatever, but that's not.
Abiogenesis.
In billions of years ago on Earth with amino acids clumping together and they formed a single cell.
So amino acids did not clump together and form the cell. Amino acid clump together to form proteins.
So there's single cell organisms that, and then out of nowhere comes a multi-celled organism.
No, not out of nowhere. At some point, a single cell was making copies of itself. But at some point, a single cell produced handicapped versions of itself. Versions that could not reproduce. All they could do is help the germline cell, help the queen.
Eventually, these multi-celled organisms, there was a mutation of photosynthesis, so then everything became a plant.
No, not everything became a plant. One of the organisms became able to produce a protein that was receiving sunlight, and that was converting that sunlight into energy.
Having had his every doubt credibly addressed, Owen was still not convinced, and despite a significant drop in his interest in discussing the subject following Jean-Francois' stream, he would continue discrediting evolution by means of character assassination, starting with incestuous racist and possibly pedophile Charles Darwin.
In general, Charles Darwin was a monster. He was the product of incest. His sister couldn't look at a mushroom without thinking about a penis. They would have to get rid of mushrooms because she would get so lightheaded. That either came from rape patterns from childhood or just insanity.
Luckily for the puzzled schizophrenic, a chance to redeem his earlier stupidity was just around the corner. Having earned himself a reputation amongst tinfoil mavericks as a non-conformist renegade, he was encouraged by his new followers to closer investigate the lunar landings of the early 1970s, and after spending a day or two scrolling through zeitgeist-style propaganda, Owen was hooked.
It started with the moon landing. It is the one event that I can prove without any reasonable logical doubt that was faked.
There was no looking back for the moon-pilled misfit, and his obsession with all things Apollo showed no signs of slowing down. And such was his newfound confidence in the moon landing hoax, that he even had something to say to mustachio-physicist and PhD recipient at Columbia University's astronomy graduate program, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, I'm smarter than Neil deGrasse Tyson. I probably know more about science than he does. He's a total fraud.
His frequent insistence that we never landed on the moon began to affect his more pressing focus towards his family, with even his son confused by all the lunar hullabaloo.
I may need to take a breather from the streams for a bit because this is causing me problems to the point where my son, the other day I was laughing, he said, "Dad, I'm mad at the moon."
Day after day, Owen's tiring diatribe continued to dominate his live streams, and any attempts by the Unbearables to either address his moon landing contentions or move him on to another topic were met with fierce animosity. Instead, he would either make appeals to his self-awarded IQ or paint any opposition as stupid before repeating the mantra, "We never went to the moon." In hopes of helping to release Owen from this burden of ignorance, I had astronomical enthusiast and engineering autist Timothy Manley dissect his arguments one by one. The following is an excerpt from a longer video addressing Owen's flawed understanding of all things NASA, the full version of which is available on this channel.
Right now, they can't figure out how to get human beings through the Van Allen radiation belt, which circles our Earth.
It's not enough to kill you that quickly. Even if they were to go through the center of the belt with the highest radiation flux, they're going through it in like an hour and a half. It's not a big deal.
NASA, the reason this all works is because it's a new religion. You know, out there in the cosmos, it's all bullshit. We can't leave.
The Van Allen radiation belt isn't that radioactive. It's not the kind of radioactivity that is like unshieldable within the weight margins of something like a spacecraft.
I don't know, like this new special that I'm releasing, you guys are gonna love it. The whole premise is that I stopped watching porn and I replaced porn with conspiracy theory videos, which is true.
God, it really makes me question how much porn he was watching. Because in order for the, equal and opposite reaction to be to go this far into conspiracy bullshit, like he had so much like fucking cum rage. He must have been just fucking pumping his cock.
The heat in space is very, very high. So what is the temperature in some of these zones? 2,000 degrees, right?
Again, he's making, I wouldn't say it's like an elementary school mistake, but it's fucking pretty embarrassing. He's confusing like thermal flux and fucking like absolute temperature.
It requires 5 feet of lead to keep the radiation out.
I gotta stop there. 5 feet of lead is fucking absurd. A nuclear reactor doesn't even have 5 feet of lead. They have about 4 feet of reinforced concrete.
Amateurs can now look up to the moon and get that close to it, and none of our stuff is up there.
Yeah, you can't see the fucking thing because you would need a telescope on Earth the size of fucking Delaware. You need an enormous telescope, and to resolve an object that small, you would need a lens or a mirror that's so impossibly large that it's like beyond the scope of fucking mankind's engineering skills.
With one iron rod, they shoot back a live TV footage through 290,000 miles of empty space and through the Van Allen belt. Okay, that's not possible.
Okay, so this is so fucking absurd and dumb. I cannot. To claim it's a fucking iron rod, to broadcast the signal from the surface of the moon, the LEM had what's called a Yagi antenna. So it's got a Yagi antenna on a gimbal, and that thing can aim at the Earth. So it's got a directional antenna. Granted, it's not sophisticated. It's not a super giant dish, but it doesn't have to be. And this is the thing with communicating the stuff in space. Thankfully, you can put all of the highly sensitive, heavy, complicated equipment on the ground.
The apex of Owen's fanatical brainwashing even saw him evicted from his own Christmas festivities, following a heated exchange with his wife's family. Owen's defiant refusal to sit quietly while the family engaged in small talk saw him turn Christmas dinner into a violent debate about the moon landing.
So why am I not currently at the second Christmas gathering today with my family? We spent the morning together. Me and Walter built monster trucks. We all did the family thing. And so now my family is with my wife's extended family. And I didn't go because it's way better that way. Sometimes my wife's family, and if you're in the group, some of them want to go on and on about what they care about. And that's fine. That's what families do. But let's say someone else wants to talk about something way more interesting, like the fact we never went to the moon. My interests cause problems with one guy in the family. He got really pissed off and he said some crazy stuff. We have a phrase called fighting words, where you can argue, you can bicker, you can be sarcastic, but everyone knows that there's a line that if someone says something, you have to fight them.
His streams would repeat the exact same path each time, with an animated opening usually followed by conspiracy moon videos, passionate shrieking to the camera, and frenetic arguments with the chat.
Owen, I think you do need a break. I'm sorry, but you're being scary. The hostility is so bad, okay? You are now banned from the channel permanently. Hostility. When I was singing that nigger stole my bike, this stupid bitch had no problem with that. Roxana Kwan. We don't need Roxana Kwan. Why would we need Roxana Kwan? Oh, you need a break. Huh? What are you gonna give me a pill? A little injection in my neck to calm me down? What a stupid bitch, right? No one needs Roxana Kwan's thoughts. Hey, Roxana Kwan, why don't you go start a channel and see if you have 1,309 people that come anytime you hit stream to listen to you talk. And then I'll tell you you need a break, you stupid bitch.
The latter became a legitimate sticking point for a large number of followers, with mass bans and violent outbursts aplenty, causing a significant exodus.
Oh, and I seriously thought the fitness thing was not good. All right, well, you're banned. Banned for that? Yes. Yes, banned for that. I would punch you in the face for that. That's because that isn't constructive criticism. That's just being a little bitch. If you don't find leftist fitness funny, you shouldn't be here. Dude, you are too tense right now. Guess what? You didn't spell two properly. So now you're banned for life. You're now hidden. You have no right to speak here. You're not trying to help the fucking stream or help the sketches. You're trying to get me to spiral. And now you're getting banned for life.
These unprovoked attacks on his own fans became a running theme of Owen's. And to longtime artistic contributor and prominent figure in the pyramid of gullible patsies, Artling Hartling, this conspiratorial fixation was simply too big an obstacle to ignore. And an inevitable fork in the road lay right ahead.
My friend Artling Hartling, who's done all this art for us, and he shot Shylock Holmes. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is because he made it public on Twitter. But he was like, this is just too much for me to handle. I'm out. And he was like, he had a wrench in the chat. He's out. He's not a bear anymore. He's like, I can't. He's like, I believe we went to the moon, so I guess I'm some kind of cuck soy boy, huh, Owen? I'm like, yes, you are now.
Owen's cack-handed spin on Artling's departure had Big Bear questioning whether racism may have played a part, especially given Artling's supposed tolerance of his narrow-minded bigotry in the past.
He should be nicer to people that have been nice to him and employed him and started his Patreon and really pushed his art, which is, by the way, very good. This dude was with us when I was doing a song called That Nigger Stole My Bike. This is why it creeps me out when people bail on dumb shit like this. I almost think people like that are actual racists. Real disgrace of a human being, if you ask me.
And after further waves of attacks, including calling Artling a pathetic human being, his cultish paranoia saw him unleash a preemptive attack on his dependable number 2, Coddington Bear. Luckily for Owen, the short-sighted cook forgave him immediately.
But I got real paranoid. And I texted Coddington Bear some mean stuff. I was real paranoid that he
that he was going to leave me too. I'm just being straight up. I'm being vulnerable right now. So I started being like, I was really scared he was going to bail too because I hadn't heard from him all day and he's editing my new special. And I was like, fuck you, Coddington Bear. You know, I'm like, you're going to fuck me over. You know, I totally pulled a King Lear. And I was wrong, and we talked on the phone, and we had a wicked heart-to-heart, and we're closer for it.
Either way, Artling was out, joining scores of disillusioned former Bears at the wrong end of Owen Benjamin's wrath. Most were either banned from his show or attacked on stream, both with often very little provocation. Amongst these sprung a small group of internet trolls known as the Danger Zone. They comprised mostly of dedicated and high-profile dissenters, liberated from Owen's devoted nest of malleable puppets. A lengthy trolling campaign against Owen and those closest to him resulted in anybody critical of Owen being painted an enemy agent, with the conspiracy pianist often speaking of their evil doings.
Just wanted to address something. I keep getting messages, emails, stuff like that, of people saying, I'm really sorry all the Bears are turning on you. I've seen it all over Twitter, over the moon stuff. I just want to let you guys know that it's fine. It's good. I want Deadwood burned always. They're scary people. A lot of people are very, very scary. I was being called all these things and being threatened, my life, my family's life, constantly. Lately, I've been feeling very defensive because of just the darkness that I've seen in people that I wanted to trust, I wanted to elevate, but the self-hatred in them is so horrible. The repercussions are very, very strong and dark, and man, I've been like crying for no reason. It's unreal. I want this to continue, guys, but it's tough.
The mounting hostility between those ridiculing Owen and those engaged in demented apologetics saw the eminence of pesky unbearable based Texan, a paedophile hunting MAGA faggot with serious financial problems. As one of many nonce-chasing boomers of the vigilante group Dragon's Den, based Texan and his wife would LARP as young children to catfish pedophiles, and as such his experience in building cases for authorities is already well established. He would therefore prove to be an irritating thorn in the sides of those simply looking to poke fun at Owen Benjamin, with constant threats of FBI raids and lengthy prison sentences a go-to tactic for this extremely embarrassing human being. Still, those trolling the comedian were simply exercising their right to have a little fun, and given the readiness of distinguished bears to involve the authorities and even threaten to bring forward lawsuits against this merry band of memesters, those involved were understandably wary of crossing the line of harassment and abuse. Unfortunately, such restraint would ultimately matter very little, given the utter madness yet to unfold.
Some people were sending poison gummies to my P.O. box because they wanted to kill my family, and they knew that my children liked gummies.
In what was widely accepted at the time as a hokey novelty prank, an anonymous listener sent a bag of penis-shaped gummy bears to Owen's P.O. box, most likely a gift from dicksbymail.com. The prank was simply a way of telling Owen to eat a bag of dicks, as the bag's logo suggests. He would open the parcel live on stream, even sharing a light chuckle at the idea of receiving an edible bag of penises.
Gummy candies, bag of dicks. Dicksbymail.com. Whoever sent me this is pretty hilarious. But apparently this is a... Oh dude, these are actual dick shapes. I was gonna say I'm gonna give this to Walter, but I can't even give it to Walter. I'm not gonna have him eat like dick-shaped candy.
The prank soon turned sour following a direct message sent to Owen discussing members of the Danger Zone, claiming, "This group of degenerates have discussed mailing tainted items to your P.O. box, with the hopes of you and or your family consuming them. In addition, they have discussed contaminating clothing items with noxious contaminants. Given that knowingly threatening to use a biological toxin as a weapon is a federal crime carrying sentences upwards of 10 to 15 years, the serious nature of the accusation was not to be taken lightly." Owen responded to the direct message with a public Facebook post, in a defiant show of violent rage. Having first encouraged bears to get guns, in what could be interpreted as a clear call to arms, he then claimed that anyone who's a part of anything that threatens me will die. I will hunt you down and blow the head off your body. Owen was understandably rattled, but curiously did very little due diligence in exploring the validity of the claim. And given the incredibly serious ramifications of such a threat, one would think at the very least the police would be immediately involved. Instead, he used what was allegedly an attempt on his child's life to drum up waves of support from thousands of bloodthirsty followers.
And I know you've associated with some people that may or may not have threatened to poison my family, so, there's gonna be new lines in the sand.
The narrative was set, and even the most vocal and logical of denials from the pits of danger zone obscurity failed to sway the mass of oblivious drones. Owen would continue to blindly believe the contents of a random direct message, with little to no further investigation, and even his memory of events began to blur, with Owen actually suggesting the gummy bear penises sent to him were in fact themselves poisoned.
And some of these bears that associated with the guy that sent my child poison, you're all gone. I see you, I ban you. I know who you guys are.
This claim was soon undermined completely, as Artling and Eric Nimmer had later consumed the gummies with no negative consequences whatsoever. As it stands, no evidence whatsoever exists of such a plot, and having personally challenged anybody to provide me with a shred of proof supporting this attempt on his family's life, I have been left with nothing but vitriolic innuendo and a series of empty threats. But still, the virtuous lunacy continued, with even YouTube talk show Revenge of the Cis being unjustly targeted with FBI threats simply for covering the subject of Owen Benjamin.
We are part of a campaign, a smear campaign.
We are.
Funded by the deep state.
Yeah. George Soros.
And NASA.
Mm-hmm. Big space.
Owen's scatterbrained recollection of aforementioned events was again displayed during another of his famed porch-bound shows. Having now convinced himself that Revenge of the Cis was somehow involved in the murder attempt, Owen once again reiterated the bold-faced lie that people actually sent poison to his house, and his liberal use of the word they seemed to suggest that Revenge of the Cis were the ones responsible for the fictional attack.
I mean, right now they're literally, I think they're like, they're streaming this stream on their little channels. I mean, they've been trolling me for months now, and they just kept escalating until they sent poison to my house.
Clearly, Owen arrived at this conclusion from third-hand anecdotes and anonymous tip-offs, and having been fed 2 random names courtesy of YouTube's Super Chat feature, Owen Benjamin doxed both of them live on air. And in giving the first and last names of those he claims are trying to murder his family to over 3,000 acrimonious viewers, Owen laid a bread trail for any one of them to seek out vengeance. In hopes of protecting the innocent and respecting the privacy of those affected, I have chosen to censor the names.
And that's their names. That's exactly right, Kyle. Their names are and that is their names. These are people that tried to poison my son Walter, because this guy makes weed candy. That's what he does. That's what does. He makes marijuana candy. Where do we? I'm not saying to do anything. I don't want you guys to do anything. I don't want anything to happen to anybody. I'm only saying this to protect myself, that if anything were to happen, these are the people that have been actively trying to hurt my family.
And, in proving the first dox was not simply a slip of the tongue, Owen again repeated their names whilst reading super chats later in the stream.
A bunch of losers, couple of little rats running the hill. Yeah, I mean, they're just crazy people that wanna hurt people.
Predictably, the chat was pulsating with merciless rage, and one after another, super chats came in with promises of violence aimed towards those he doxed. He eventually capitulated to their whims, calling them to kill everybody at his signal.
Don't worry, we will get them for you, Big Bear. Yeah, but that doesn't help me though, and I do appreciate that. And if I ever do need that, and I give you guys the nod, kill everybody.
Such was his cultish control of his faithful peons that nobody dared question the hypocrisy of Owen's blind willingness to accept a wild allegation without a shred of evidence, all based on a personal gripe. After all, the comedian turned on Dr. Jordan Peterson for his views on Justice Brett Kavanaugh, assumingly because of Owen's deep-seated principles. But, as we've witnessed throughout this documentary, what Owen Benjamin practices and what Owen Benjamin preaches are two opposing forces.
Owen would be redeeming if he was just a stupid conspiracy nut. If he displayed even just a little bit of humility, just a little bit of self-awareness and humility, everything would be fine. We would pick on Owen. We would have moved on a week ago.
Oh, yeah.
We would have been like, all right, Owen's a fucking kook, but whatever. He's allowed to be a kook. But he keeps doubling down on his arrogant, like, fuck you, I'm smarter than everybody at Oxford. These fucking scientists don't get science.
Having now replaced his community of unbearables with thousands of Sandy Hook truthers and lolcal trolls, Owen was encouraged to consider his position on the batshit insane flat earth theory. And to their delight, Owen was more than receptive.
The arguments for round earth are horrible. Like, a bunch of flat earth people have gotten balloons to go up 120,000 feet, and they take pictures of a world with no curve. I want hard motherfucking evidence that the earth is round, and I've never been up there. Hey, retard, imagine they're all flat discs, right? Do we see spheres in the sky? Dude, I'm getting angry because everybody that's acting like I'm retarded has not thought through any of their arguments. So if we see a bunch of circles in the sky, does that mean they're spheres or fucking dinner plates? You can't prove it!
Big Bear was lost. His once flourishing career in the public eye had been reduced to waves of hysterical and irrational tirades. Whatever remnants of comedic interest had long since perished, and in return, comedy gave up on Owen. His last bastion of artistic relevance came in the form of Louder with Crowder, a conservative comedy talk show ran by a fake Canadian patriot and active bisexual, Stephen Crowder. Known for his series of unfunny sketches and Adderall-laden squeals, Crowder hired Owen to help write and perform material in efforts to own the libs. However, following Owen's proclivity for yelling at the moon, Crowder had seen enough. An emotional Owen was tossed aside like an old newspaper, and Big Bear did not take it well.
I'm a threat, guys. Steven Crowder won't even let me write for him now. You know how little I was getting paid, by the way? Do you think that I was getting, like, big money for that? It was because I wanted to. $30 an hour. I would wake up at 5 a.m. to write Steven Crowder jokes because I believed in him. And I'm off the team because of the moon landing. It's fucking Faustian. But yeah, they did me dirty, man. And it wasn't him. Like, Crowder's had, like, legitimate health issues. And, but his team, whoever the fuck that is these days, fuck me up. I'm done with them. And if anybody's like, here we go, just like Jordan Peterson, you're all banned who say that. Bag strapped to my shoulder ever since I was a baby. Boy, I gotta get the hell.
As for Eric Nimmer, following mounting pressure from swarms of wizardly gammas, hairless mastermind Vox Day addressed the comedian's sketchy service record during the intellectual bukkake session known as the Dark Stream, and despite only being tangentially involved, he was quick to address his concerns with Eric Nimmer's bogus claims.
I didn't have an opinion. I didn't know anything about it. Now I've looked into it, and as far as I can tell, it appears, it is not conclusive, it appears that Eric Nimmer may have lied about his military service. If I had to bet on it, I would bet that Nimmer never came any closer to combat than I have, or than any of you.
Unfortunately, such integrity could not be attributed to Owen Benjamin. His first stream since Eric Nimmer's revelations saw the free speech warrior set his chat to members only, forcing thousands of bears to now pay to contribute.
Are we just doing members only chat? Because I'm always gonna keep my streams free for everybody. But lately, there's been a troll situation that I will address.
His anger towards those he saw as trolls totally clouded his judgment on Eric Nimmer. And despite super chats from actual US Marines pressing Owen to address the buck-toothed elephant in the room, Owen would not back down. The Unbearables were in complete civil war, with many disappointed in Owen's ever-changing position on seeking the truth. Regrettably, the spiralling alcoholic chose to plant his flag in Camp Nimmer, assumingly out of personal spite against his perceived antagonists.
All these people are asking me, stolen valor to Eric. I'm like, I would never ask him. They're like, did he serve? I'm like, yeah, of course. He's my friend. He said he served. Fuck you. Why would I have him prove that? I'm like, I got your back, buddy, through thick and thin. Why does some person's accusation of my friend affect anything? Nimmer doesn't brag about killing people at all. There's been times when I'm like, dude, Nimmer's got a head count on him and he looks like real uncomfortable. And then I felt bad about it and I stopped doing it. I've been talking to Nimmer all week about it, the stress of what he's going through. They're hitting up his friends, his family, his unit, everything. Shame, shame, shame. It hurts so bad. You want to know what I didn't ask him one time? Did you really serve in the military? I said, buddy, I'm here for you for life. You little nigger. They act like they're on meth in their basement, just being like, Nimmer's a liar, fails. They're oddly effective because they're cowards. Like in real life, they can't do this. They can't come and just be like, he's lying, because people would just beat him to fucking death. You gotta understand, this is like not new for us with these people accusing us of just everything. These people care so little about the military and Nimmer and anything. They just want revenge.
As demonstrated repeatedly throughout this documentary, it's undeniable at this point that there exists a cult-like mentality to Owen's unbearable ecosystem. The sycophantic power structure propping up Big Bear only exists to support and defend the prickly comic, often at serious financial cost to his obsessive admirers. And dissenters such as Artling Hartling are usually ousted, disavowed and attacked for simply speaking their mind. We've seen Owen routinely attack and ban anybody who dares question the doctrinal nature of his litany of conspiracies. And having manufactured this insane murder plot against him and his family, his horde of doting apologists were now whipped into a visible frenzy of overwhelming allegiance. The us against the world mentality had resulted in Owen's fans even willing to act out in violence against Owen's growing list of sinful adversaries. And with recurring threats of litigation and FBI investigation, an almost Scientology-like comparison begins to unravel. So there we have it. The unique tale of Owen Benjamin Smith has seen us bear witness to the rapid unhinging of a man who once had the world at his feet. But as we draw this documentary to a close, we'd be best to note a few things. By default, Owen isn't necessarily a toxic person. In fact, he often has the best of intentions, even if unable or unwilling to practice what he preaches. Unfortunately, he suffers from a spectrum of undiagnosed neuroses that have all but crippled his once promising reputation as an entertainer. And in the face of inevitable criticism for daring to question the psychology of Owen Benjamin, it's important to remember that unlike the so-called bears gone bad, I had no pre-existing thoughts either way on the comedian prior to taking on this project. And having surrounded himself with a cult of poisonous yes-men and sociopathic liars, it remains an objective fact that Owen's peculiar case is indisputably fascinating to the outsider and deeply concerning to many of his former devotees. So at last, my final words to Owen Benjamin: seek help immediately.